Hi everyone, welcome to Planet Army, to the Planet Army channel. My name is Omer. Ah, this video, I wasn't sure if I'm gonna bring the channel back and create more. Honestly, I barely have time, but this week has been a lot, and I'm sure for a lot of Army that are have been here for a while, it brought back a lot of angry memories. And I thought I I I personally have talked about this subject matter numerous times and on this channel, different channels, with different people. But I felt the need, A, to vent, and B, to talk about it in a bit more thorough way. I feel like sometimes, Army keeps getting bigger and bigger, and sometimes people don't know the history of what we've been through. So I thought maybe doing a video like this will be helpful. Might not. So yeah, but this week has been it's been a lot. It's been hard, right? For those who, I'm sure you've seen, like, there's probably a title for this video, right? And we talk about it's about Billboard, it's about like crazy, and about charting in general and all that. So yeah, so I created this video. I wrote s- down what I'm gonna say. So if I'm looking down, know that that's why. um, and basically, in this video, I'll break down. It'll be divided into three parts. It will be about Billboard Hot 100 in general. It will be about some Army BTS history with it, and about what happened this week with Like Crazy, and how that fits into everything, and why did it happen, how did it happen, and everything. Now, this is full disclosure, like the fifth time I'm recording this. It's been a while since I've recorded something, and I don't really remember how. And my first draft, the mic was on mute for like most of it. So I'm pre recording everything. So yeah, buckle up, bring snacks. It's gonna be long, but I think there's a lot to talk about. So let's all get ready and do this. So yeah, so first I'm gonna talk about the Billboard Hot 100 chart. And for those who don't know, that chart is made out of three components. You have radio reach, you have streams, and you have sales, which are digital downloads in the US. So its tracking week starts from Friday to Thursday night. And each one of these components is problematic and has issues all on its own. So yeah, so let's start breaking it down. To start off, let's talk about radio reach. And basically, radio reach would be how many spins a song gets in a certain week and how big that station that plays it is. Radio used to be calculated not Friday to Thursday like the rest of the chart. It used to be calculated from Monday to Monday. So often BTS Army would see some song getting spins at the start of, like at the weekend, where it didn't count for the chart. Fun. But yeah, but now it's Friday to Thursday, just like the rest of the chart. And unfortunately, radio reach is very much determined by payola, which is pay to play. Basically, while it's illegal to use payola, a lot of labels have found a way around it. They do it through third parties. And basically, what it means is that they pay the stations for spins. So if you drive in the middle of the night and you hear the same song for 4 times in 1 hour, that's why it happens. And basically, it's a way to increase a song's spins for the charts. Um, Even if a radio show has an option to request a song, they do a poll about what song to play, they ask people to call in, a lot of the time even shows like that are being manipulated by Payola, and sometimes you'll see a certain song get win on a poll, but not get played anyways. We've seen it happen before, and unfortunately, it's an integral part of the way radio works now. Basically, artists who want their song played on radio have to pay the stations to do so. And how often a song is played on radio is not in any way an indication of how popular that song or that artist is, but in fact, it's an indication of how much their label is willing to pay for those streams. Um, Often, a song is played on radio is not a direct indication of how popular a song is. That's why you can sometimes see an artist that is really big on radio and has lots of radio spins unable to sell out an arena, for example. It's because there's not necessarily a correlation between the two, right? If you pay for streams, you get played on radio. That's how it works. Speaking of streams, let's go to the second component, and that's streaming apps like YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music. All these platforms allow users to choose the songs that they want to play and create their own playlists. And on paper, that's amazing. Not on paper, it's an amazing option to have, right? But unfortunately, while that system is really great for the individual user, they have also found a way to capitalize on the need to chart, and they have found their own way to make money by pushing a song up the charts. They can do it with passive listening like ads, and they can do it with playlisting, paid playlisting. Billboard has also decided that for Hot 100, premium streams or paid streams are worth more than free ones. So there's also an encouragement for people to pay for those services. Now, don't be confused. Just because you pay for them, it doesn't mean that that money goes to the artist. These streaming apps barely pay the artist for music. So, for example, if we'll take Spotify, Spotify pays $0.004 on average per stream. Do the calculations, that's not a lot. It's not a lot of money. And if you take into account that a lot of artists actually need to pay money for these platforms in order to get those views and that notice, then artists are actually somewhat in a deficit before they even started. Artists these days do not make music from art. They make it from the t-shirt they sell at the stadium. And if you can see how problematic that is, let me further point it out. So let's talk about sales. Well, these days, most music fans do not purchase music and rely on streams. Sales remain the best way for an artist to make money off their art form. In Billboard Hot 100 chart, sales used to be worth 3 times more than streams. Honestly, I can't even tell you if that's true anymore. With the way Billboard keeps changing that chart and changing the rules, I might, just because it used to be true, apparently doesn't mean it still is. Billboard has stopped announcing when they're changing the rules, as we'll talk about later. Originally, a fan could buy a song 4 times per week. And last year, the Billboard limited that to that you can do 1 sale per email per week. We'll talk about it later more extensively. Now, I know that some people will ask, I know that journalists have brought this up. I know that every person that I told this story to and what happened this week to have said, why on earth would someone need to buy a song multiple times, especially when they can get it for free from streaming platforms? And the answer is so simple. The reason to buy a song multiple times is to support the art that you're listening to, the art that you're watching. It's really that simple. Today, artists are Buying a song allows an artist to have a creative freedom. It allows them to be independent of TikTok trends and the need for virality. It allows them to make a song that's longer than 3 minutes. It allows them to talk about the things that are important to them. It allows them to be genuine and to do the art that they want to make. That's why you like them as an artist, right? That's why you said, I'm a fan of this group. You like the work they do. If you don't support it, if you don't invest in it, then you're subjecting them to be dependent on those labels. And we have seen artists say that they can't put out an album because first they need to make it song viral on TikTok. And if you love music, then I don't understand how that's not a problem for you. It's honestly, it scares me because I imagine a future where all the songs sounds the same. There's no artistry left in it. It's all computer generated and AI powered and all to fit a certain beat. And we won't have songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, and we won't have Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and we won't have November Rain. We won't have those amazing opera of songs that tell a story and that make us emotional and make us feel connected. All we'll have is bops, and that's great and that's fun, but it's not all I want in music. And I want an artist to be able to make a living from their art. I don't want them to have to sell a t-shirt or do a commercial in order to make a living and keep doing the art that they want. It's not that I'm worried about it, it's just so you have an example of how big that this situation is. uh, Coldplay, one of the biggest groups in the world with over 20 years of success, almost didn't go on their world tour because of money issues. That's how bad that problem is. And if an artist makes their money from the t-shirt they sell at a concert and they can't do a concert, then how are they supposed to stay true to their craft? How will we keep getting that music? So forget BTS for a second, but if you like music and you can afford it, then please buy it. And the reason to buy it multiple times is for those people who can't afford it, is to show that, to know that you do what you can to support an artist that you like. It's payment for all the many hours that they have spent and poured into their art. It's for those endless nights. It's for the revising their lyrics. It's for the hours upon hours they spend in studios perfecting that song for you. So if you like art, you have to, like, right, when you go to a museum you pay an entrance fee. When you, it's just, it's something that you have to I know in today's world that streams are so much easier and they're important too, but we have to make sure that art is still alive and it's still profitable. It has to still be profitable. I'm not talking about the money they make from commercials, and obviously those top 1% can make it, but what about all those indie bands and all those small artists? You think they don't get hurt from this? They do. So yeah, sorry, I do get emotional thinking about it. It breaks my heart. And speaking of things that's breaking my heart, so let's talk about BTS, ARMY, and Billboard history. I'm gonna take you back to February 2020, right before Map of the Soul 7 came out. BTS did a whole thing before the actual album came out. There was BTS Connect, which was an incredible project. If you haven't heard about it, please go look at it. Unfortunately, it barely got any attention. They were really trying to set themselves as the artists that they are. As you know, the whole album is about the fear in music, you losing. It's about the fear of losing the passion for music, and they were really trying to set themselves as artists. And And even though BTS Connect didn't get much attention, sadly, we were really pumped about what was gonna come. Because at this point, Billboard, they already changed the rules about not allowing for paid stream ads to be counted for the first 24 hours of a song's life. That's a whole other thing. And Army had a love-hate relationship with YouTube because they kept deleting our views, especially in the first 24 hours, but it was still our main streaming platform. And if you're listening, please keep streaming on YouTube, even though it's annoying. Um, Everyone was really excited for Map of the Soul 7 to come out. We were also very optimistic about some radio spins. Um, BTS were on a rising up trajectory of getting more and more spins with every comeback, and Boy With Love had decent for BTS, which is still incredibly low, but decent spins. And BTS performed it on the Billboard stage, and so we were hopeful that we'll get some radio spins and some attention. And also BTS were doing this huge, massive US promotion, right? They did James Corden, and they did like the carpool karaoke, and they did Jimmy Fallon and that New York special, and it was really shaping up to be their biggest comeback yet. So excitement level were high. Not to be dramatic, but everything changed when On dropped. Halfway through the week, it was clear that I'm just making sure that the mic is still working. Hold on. Yeah, okay, it seems fine. Um, Halfway through the week, it was clear that we weren't getting any radio spins. Radio DJ said that the song wasn't pushed on radio. They said that they didn't know what the title song was, which is absurd because that was the first time that Big Hit dropped a comeback map. So we actually had dates for everything that was gonna drop, with some surprises, but like we knew when the title track was gonna drop, and we knew like it was the only song with a music video. It's not rocket science to know what the title track is, but they said that they didn't know what the title track was. And most annoying is that somehow they blamed Army for the lack of radio spins. Don't ask me. I still don't understand how their minds made that connection, but whatever. In addition to that, YouTube was deleting views methodically that week and in numbers that we have never seen before. So tensions were high, a lot of annoyance and anger. And so Army, halfway through the week, decided to change course. And since sales were worth so much more than streams, Army decided to buy the songs and to do it systematically. And we saw the start of the funding, I mean, not the start, but funding accounts taking more control. And we really decided to, since we were on our own and got zero support from everyone around, we just decided to take things into our own hands. And when the Hot 100 chart dropped and On reached number 4, which is BTS' biggest placement on the chart up until that point, it was incredible. It was such an amazing achievement, and we were happy, and the entire Twitter army rejoiced, and it was fun, and it was amazing. We felt so empowered. And that lasted for 20 minutes because in a now deleted tweet by Billboard, they basically said that they didn't, well, they showed like the calculations that they did, not anything transparent, heaven forbid, but they like talked about how the, right, you had the On Kinetic Manifesto film and you had the On MV, and so they didn't really calculate, sorry, I've been here for a while now talking, so they didn't really calculate the On MV streams. which is annoying. And they immediately deleted that tweet. But it was clear that there was some miscalculation going on, and that could have charted higher. And so at that point, we started charting Billboard recalculate, Billboard corrupt, same hashtags that you see now. Now, it didn't matter that it trended; those hashtags trended worldwide. It didn't matter that we were screaming. It was completely into the void. Billboard didn't care. They weren't transparent. No journalist picked it up. All those self-proclaimed K-pop journalists who love to take credit for BTS's work, and all those constantly talking about charts journalists, we contacted them, we emailed them. They stayed silent. They didn't care, and we were on our own, like always, and basically forced to move on. Right? What can you do? A month later, Billboard didn't calculate 5 seconds of Summer's bundle concert bundle sales, and that led to them not getting the number one spot on the Billboard 200 chart. Their fans were angry, and Billboard recalculated, trended again. But this time, unlike when Army did it, many articles were written, and radio DJs supported that and supported their cause. And not surprisingly, it caused the Army to feel very frustrated. And not only were DJs giving the group so much attention and such different energy than they were giving Army and BTS, they were also gaslighting Army in the process. Because how dare Army complain about the lack of attention that these DJs gave the whole situation just a month before? Those DJs said that they had the audacity to say that Army should have like schmoozed their local DJs more, and that if Army wanted BTS to have radio spins, that they should have contacted all those DJs and like begged for spins. And the funny thing is that Army has done that. We have done that for years, and Army has in fact sent cupcakes to DJs to encourage them to do spins, and gave them mugs in order to encourage them to give BTS spins. So not only is it absurd that Army has to do that, Army did do that and still barely got any spins. So yeah, anger was high, frustration was high, and this was just, we're talking March 2020. You all know what happened in March 2020. We were all at home, unsure of what the world was going to look like, and it was just so much. It was just so much, so infuriating. And a certain DJ who even interviewed BTS before, at one point, one of those that asked really dumb questions. Um, he decided to try and capitalize on the situation and take advantage of the anger. And I kid you not, he said he wanted to bridge the gap between Army and radio. And so he did a live stream where he listened to Army complaints and lack of radio support. And not like the excuses that he made were so absurd that don't ask me to try and explain them, because I can't fathom how his mind works, that he thought that what he was saying was making sense. But these are some of the stuff that he said, and I'm pretty sure I can still find it somewhere on Twitter. I'm not gonna search, I don't want to, but this is some of the stuff he said. He said BTS are too big, they are too small, they don't do commercials, they don't have popularity everywhere, meaning that what works in New York and LA doesn't work in Texas. At that time, BTS has sold out Map of the Soul tour, both in New York and LA and Texas. So same popularity, all stadiums, like, don't know that thought process. He said they don't have a hit which how can you have a mainstream hit if you don't get radio? He said they aren't on TV, which again, at that time, they did US award shows, they were on Corden, on Fallon, like, okay. Um, he said, he basically said everything except the actual problem is, which is that BTS are an outsider to the industry. They sing in Korean, and they aren't paying for the radio spins like everyone else. They weren't pushing songs. It was so like since then BTS has had major hits, has done commercials, has done stadiums, was on TV, and still their Korean songs don't get the airtime that reach that, and even their English songs get minimal radio spins. So like none of what he said makes sense. It was it was hard. It was a whole conversation that was very difficult. And you might think that there's absolutely no reason for me to talk about this now and bring back all those annoying memories, but the reason why it is important to mention here is because radio is a third of, or was a third of, the Billboard Hot 100 calculation. And over time, this archaic system is getting more power over that chart because sales are getting less. So by default, radio and streams are getting more. And radio is really being highlighted by this system. So if radio DJs aren't willing to play their songs, and if radio stations aren't willing to play their songs, then basically a third of the calculated number is missing for BTS. So it is something that we should point out, the way these DJs' minds work and the lack of support that they have given. It's obviously not all of them. There are some nice ones. There are a few who have given BTS spins. I'm not saying this isn't like targeting a specific person. Maybe this one is, but it's not targeting a specific person. It's the whole system is so corrupt and so problematic that we're fighting a losing battle with radio. And I'm not saying, don't take it to saying like our army don't ask radio for spins. Go ahead and ask, and it's okay. There's nothing bad that can happen from it. And who knows, maybe over time people change and systems change, and we might be able to do get some spins and some reach. But and every spin helps, right? But it's very exhausting. Fast forward to August 2020 and Dynamite coming out. Ahead of the song's release, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how many spins we're gonna get, so sales became our major focus. Sales and YouTube streams and streams in general, but sales really, we got ready for it to buy the song. And in my opinion, I know Dynamite is an incredible song and it really was needed. But I think no matter what song was going to come out, like in what language it was going to get to number one. But that's an opinion. Obviously, we don't know what ever actually happened. But what we do know is that ARMY bought the song and bought it a lot. And while it did receive more radio spins than any BTS song before that, it was immediately clear just how important sales were. The song reached number one on the chart. It was the first song by a Korean group to do that. And unfortunately, with it, people started questioning that achievement. ARMY didn't just get that song to number one, they managed to keep it on the chart for a really, really long time. And a lot of it was through sales. A few weeks after that number one, BTS, after Dynamite reached number one, BTS got a second number one with the Savage Love remix. This achievement was monumental. Despite Jason Derulo not really giving them the credit for it, it was so important and so big because not only did the song reach number one for the first time, the original version did not reach number one. Uh, the remix had so many more sales and streams than the original version that the credit for number one went to the remix. Usually, when there are remixes, it all combines to the original song. But in this case, the remix had so much more power than the original songs that it basically became the main track. So BTS getting that number one that week. Also, Dynamite was at number two. So BTS ruled that chart that week. It really proved just how big sales were. Since then, BTS has debuted songs at the top of the chart numerous times in 2020 and in 2021. And yeah. Sorry. After the success of Dynamite, there was some hope that now that BTS has a successful mainstream hit, their new Korean song, Life Goes On, will get some spins, right? That radio DJ said that all they need is a hit and some commercials and all that. And they had that. So we were like, yeah, maybe we'll get some streams. And no, we didn't. Life Goes On barely got any. It's a running joke on Twitter that it only had like 6. It had a few more, but definitely barely got any streams. And yet it managed to reach number one with the power of sales and streams, which is again an incredible achievement to do for a Korean song with just 2/3 of the chart calculation available to you. In May and July of 2021, Butter and Permission to Dance debuted on the number one Hot 100 chart. And BTS has stayed on top of the chart for numerous weeks and consecutive weeks, much to the frustration of the music industry. I want to give an example just how difficult it is to debut a song on number one. Miley Cyrus did it for the first time in 17 years with Flowers. Okay, that's how hard it is to debut a song on the number one. For BTS to be able to do it, to achieve that number one repeatedly with different songs in different languages with limited radio reach and with extreme stream filtering and basically block some radio supported songs in the process is insane. It's unheard of. And unfortunately, it also shook the entire rotten foundation the music industry was built upon. BTS wasn't paying for radio, they weren't paying for streaming services, they weren't using playlists. It was just them and their fans, and they managed to overcome the industry. Upon Butter's success and it blocking more radio supported songs on the chart, many journalists took the time to write some lovely think pieces about how absurd it was that the sales were the reason behind this success. How weird and how wrong it is for fans of musicians to pay for music. Absurd, right? Blasphemy. Like, how can fans of music buy music? Why would they do that? They accuse BTS of having a lot of remixes, of discounting their songs. They never gave that same energy to American artists who have done the same to farther extremes and even bundled their music with pens, energy drinks, concert tickets, sweaters. Like, they didn't care about that. But BTS fans buying music, that was an issue. In August 2021, Billboard did an atrocious article with BTS about BTS. And in the interview, they asked Kim Yeon-jun, the leader of BTS, on his thoughts on ARMY buying their songs and called it chart manipulation and cheating. Namjoon said, and I quote, "It's a fair question, but if there is a conversation inside Billboard about what being number one should represent, then it's up to them to change the rules and make streaming weigh more in the rankings. Slamming us or our fans for getting number one with physical sales and downloads, I don't know if that's right. It just feels like we're an easy target because we're a boy band, a K-pop act, and we have this high fan loyalty. After that interview, BTS has managed to get another number one with their collaboration with Coldplay for My Universe. However, things were about to change. As Namjoon said, it's up to Billboard to change the rules, and that's exactly what they did. Billboard changed the rules that each person can buy a song once per week, thus limiting multiple sales by the same person in a tracking week. With ARMY getting to know the new system, this has worked at keeping BTS and the members at bay from reaching that number one spot on Hot 100. That is until Park Jimin's solo work in March 2023. With an 80s vibe, sensual dance number by such a unique vocalist and incredible dancer, Like Crazy had the potential to do amazing on the charts. With zero expectations of radio spins, ARMY supported the song through streams and sales as usual. However, during the first promotion week, it was clear that people were loving the song and that a certain shift has been made. When Hot 100 chart dropped the first week, when the Hot 100 chart of the first week dropped, despite not planning for it, the song has reached massive success and got to number one, even though the rules have changed. Amazing. ARMY pushed harder to try and keep the song at the top 10 on the second week. However, it became clear that despite making no announcement about it, Billboard has changed the rules again. Out of around 120,000 sales, they have only calculated around 15,000. Such a huge filtration of sales is unheard of and has no explanation. Despite Army asking for one, Billboard has always lacked transparency and has ignored the trending hashtags asking for an explanation. As always, the industry doesn't care, and no one spoke about it or joined in asking the right questions. The only person hurt by the rule change has been Park Jimin. The entire chart has stayed the same, and yet somehow, between week one and week two, Jimin sales were filtered so massively that he dropped from the first spot to number 45. Number 45, considering the insane filtration of sales, is insane achievement. It's incredible, but those numbers do not make sense. And that massive amount of filtration does not make sense. And with every rule change, Billboard is harming artists and giving radio and playlisting more power than they should ever have. And it's all in an attempt to protect this broken system who puts money in the wrong people's pockets. It's all to try to keep outsiders from coming in and shaking things up. God forbid a Korean group who doesn't rely on industry connections be successful on their turf. Army, I know this is frustrating and infuriating, but I hope you're not too discouraged. Even if BTS never gets that number one again, and they will, we'll make sure, but even if they do, we have given them a much better prize. They get to create the art they want, be experimental as they want, disregard trends, do whatever promotion suits them, because we will be there to support. Sadly, very few artists can live purely on their art, but BTS can. And while iHeart's over 800 radio stations are unable to lower their $5 billion debt, well, Billboard keeps betting on this dying horse called radio, BTS will always have ARMY by their side. They'll say we're cheating, they'll call it chart manipulations, they can do it a million times over. But if the industry wasn't so corrupt, we wouldn't have to make up the difference. And no matter how Billboard and the industry spins it, it makes no sense that an artist who can sell out stadiums during a membership presale within minutes isn't played on radio And it shouldn't be a shock when they achieve a number one spot just because they didn't put them there. So, Army, I hope this doesn't exhaust you and instead gives you energy and drive to keep streaming and keep buying and keep supporting these seven wonderful people that have changed all our lives. And please keep streaming on all platforms. I know YouTube is frustrating. I know, but still. And I hope together we can pull through this and stay motivated, and 2025 is not that far, and we'll have so many projects in the meantime, right? We have D-Day coming up, a lot of exciting things. So let's focus on BTS, concentrate on them, and stay with it. So Apo Bangpo and Bora He. Bye.